Hey, Greg Harrelson here with another episode of the Level Up Podcast. And as a lot of you know, the Level Up Podcast was originally my vision on how to, how to share stories and secrets, tips, and whatnot in the journey of going from agent to entrepreneur. And we've got a guest today that we've had on the show before. It's been a while, so we're gonna, really do a deep dive and get an update of the progression over the years. But Rhyan Finch is truly has a story of going from agent to entrepreneur. Now, before I invite Rhyan in to share, I just want to say, when I say agent to entrepreneur, he started off in the real estate business as a new agent. Market shifted, had to pivot, do some short sales, learn the distress market, ends up selling hundreds of properties. Decides he wants to go to another level, creates a team. I believe he did that with his sister. Next thing you know, doing 900 home sales. And I think they became the number 7 team by the Wall Street Journal. So, it's very legit. And then if that wasn't enough, he decided, I'm going to start my own real estate company. And he went on to do that. And then he's going to tell us a story about how he's taken his real estate company and started franchising. So to me, when you're an agent, there's the agent, then you're a team builder, then he became a business owner, and now he's really working on being an entrepreneur. So Rhyan, thank you for joining me again. Rhyan Finch from Virginia. Did I mess any of that up, man? Man,
that was great. It's funny that you even remembered all of those details and all that stuff. So I appreciate it. That was very honoring. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say this. The reason why I remember is because you're a true testament to agent to entrepreneur. And there's a lot of real estate agents that have business owner or entrepreneur in their hearts, and they have that desire, but they just don't have the confidence to go there, right? Maybe they feel like they're missing something. They're afraid of what they don't know and things like that. Well, you went for it. Now, I don't know, and you'll tell us whether you had all this figured out beforehand or if you had to figure it out along the way. But no matter which way it is, you're truly something to remember. So thanks for joining me again, man.
Yeah, sure, man. Thanks for having me on. So
real quick. So tell us the start. Like, you get into the business, the market drops, and you have to go into distress sales.
Yeah, it was almost not fair. If I had waited one more year, I wouldn't have had to go through what I had to go through, because you get in for a year, you get to dabble in some success, right? I mean, you get a couple sales, you're making money, and then you're spending it like that's always going to be that way, and then it drops off. And what was worse is I used the money to then go get debt. So I got a new car, I get a new house, and then boom, it all hits the bottom. And so that was really a hard punch in the mouth that really made me adapt and figure things out. But if I had not gone through that, I don't know that I'd be where I'm at today, because it taught me all about the economics, right? So everyone is scared of moving on to the new level and next level of business, but it's usually because they don't know their numbers. They don't know they're profitable. They don't know their business. They don't know where new business would come from. There's so much ambiguity that stops them, that if they actually stopped and went and figured that out, they would know. And so, I mean, I got all the way down, and I'm still granular to this day. I literally, before this meeting, I was sitting down with our operations person, and we were talking about what is our run rate per day? Like, what does it cost us per day to run this business? And what is our income per day, right? And it's a simple little game, right? Like, we want to see whether what we're bringing in is greater than what we're spending, right? And so we can do that on a daily basis once you look at it annual, monthly, and then daily, right? And so So anyway, I had to do, Dave Ramsey type stuff, paying off credit cards and debts and digging all the way out. So I dug a huge hole that I had to come out of. And then it wasn't just coming back. It was like, you had to come back. And then to get to the next level, you had to get rid of all the crap of all the mess I had made. And that encouraged me. And at the same time, because I did it, I was confident, right? Like I go, okay, well, if that's the case, I'll do it. And then I just made one mistake after another where I essentially repeated the same stupid pattern over and over and over again. And I said, wait a minute, somebody's going to want to know this information of how to not do this. So they can skip past and bypass the stupidity. But here's the worst part. This is the worst part. You're going to laugh at me. And this may discredit everything that I'm getting ready to say, but I actually had a coach. he actually told me. And I didn't listen. So because I didn't understand what he was saying when he was telling me what he would say. And he would say it over and over because he would just say it real gentle, you know, and it wasn't somebody shaking me. It wasn't pushing me down like, hey, you got to listen to what I'm telling you. He just ask simple questions. He'd say statements like, you got to leave with profit. You got to leave with profit. And, you know, just real nice. And I was like, what does that even mean? You know, like it didn't make any sense to me. Oh yeah, I'm profitable. I mean, I'm losing money every month, but I'm profitable. And you know, it was just nuts. So anyway,
you know, I have to say for those listening, you know, I've been through a few different cycles, and so I understand, you know, kind of like I've seen this go on and on and on multiple times, where somebody gets in the market and the market's hot, and all of a sudden they start getting traction early on, and then the market drops, and then they find themselves having to dig themselves out of a hole. And I unfortunately, Ryan, I see people doing that right now. I see people, you know, I see all these Facebook posts of these beautiful houses, beautiful cars, beautiful boats that are being purchased by all these real estate agents that are legitimately doing more business. I just fear that they're financing all those things. And then, and then when the market shifts, then, you know, the bills stay there. The bills don't shift, you know. And so hopefully people are learning lessons from, you know, from mistakes of others in the past. But this is the time to be becoming debt free, not be adding debt on, because there will be another market. So you made the shift. You know, what I found fascinating, and I'm kind of curious, you went from a good market to now having to master a distressed market. A lot of people decided they're just going to get out of the market. You know, what was in your head? I mean, what were you thinking?
I didn't really have a plan B. I mean, there wasn't really any other option. You know, I had my daughter, and at that point, you know, she was probably 5 by the time the distress really got going. And I was like, well, I gotta do something. And people are doing deals. Yeah, for me, it really messed with my head a little bit that it was this down market. And I said, it's a down market, but you could look at the stats and go, thousands of homes were selling every month. They just weren't selling with me. And so I had to figure out where that business was coming from, what was going on. And so it really, when I say it messed with your head, you go, well, every market's going to have that. All you just have to do is be the top. If you're at the top, and then a certain amount of deals, meaning it's not going to zero deal. I mean, we could if no listings hit the market at this point, but I mean, really, deals are happening. They're just got to be happening with you. And that's really the key pivotal thing, that good market, slow market, it doesn't really matter. You just got to be the one doing those deals. I know that's pretty basic comment, but it wasn't then.
It's Ryan, it's not as basic as you would think. I mean, what you just said right there is so important, that in a good market and a down market, the number of transactions that will transact in the United States will be relatively the same. It's probably going to be, in very rare occasions, it may dip under 5 million sales, and and just as rare, it may actually surpass 6 million. It's typically always going to be in the $5 million transaction range. So when people say the market is good or the market is bad, what you learned early on, that prices are higher or prices are lower, but transactions are the same. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, more or less. I mean, the percentage wise, it was a little bit of a difference, but you'd be surprised how much that compressed everybody, you know? And so a certain amount of people, when they got out, when those people, like you said, they got out, it actually just opened up the door for those that stayed in, right? And so if you could just hang on a little bit longer, when you're, you know, everything's screaming at you, you got to pay the water bill, you got to pay the electric bill, you got to pay the mortgage, like all that's going on is noise in the back of your head. But if I hadn't gone through that part of knowing that feeling, that emotion, and then going in and redoing the numbers, you know, I don't think I would have ever been prepared for anything more. So
yeah, I actually think that the down market is there is more opportunity, because even though the price ranges are down, the number of transactions available per agent usually goes up, because the number of agents actually decrease at a higher percentage than the number of transactions decrease. Exactly. So particularly there's more business. And I think you found that out. So I'm really curious though, of like, okay, now you've mastered, or you're doing very well with the short sales and foreclosures. Talk to me about the transition of why did you create a team from that? Was it out of necessity? You're just doing so much business, you needed help, what was your thought in joining forces with your sister? By the way, your sister's name, how do you pronounce her name?
Rendy.
Rendy. I don't know what it is about your parents, but you guys like the RH in the spelling, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that. Okay, cool. So what was the inspiration in joining forces as a team with Rendy? How did that come about?
Well, it was a down economy, really. I mean, at that point in time, so she had stepped in to help us build some stuff and do like the back end operations from Florida. So, you know, she was a go-getter, so she's down there and she could do a lot of the work and help me doing that. I didn't have a lot of money at that point, you know, because it was you know, down. So I was paying her. She was helping me. She's like, look, at least it's revenue right now because jobs aren't there, and so it puts, you know, food on the table. And then it just kind of started taking off. New opportunities opened up, and then we said, well, let's just move you up here. So we moved her up from Florida up here, moved her whole family up here, moved her into a house I had, and then, you know, from there she just kind of help us take off, set up all the operational, you know, pieces. I'd come up with some crazy idea, and she'd go, okay, here, boom, 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 and she would make it happen, you know. So yeah.
Well, we all need our Rendy in our lives. There's no
Yeah.
question about it. I mean, the true backbone of the businesses a lot of times are people like that. So great. So really the inspiration is, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities out there in this down economy. She needed something, you probably needed something. It just happened to match, and you took care of family and whatnot. And I guess sounded like a two-way street where she was taking care of you, you're taking care of her. And so were your intentions though was there intentions beyond that or did it just unfold as you and her started working together? You're like, well, why don't we add an agent? How did you start adding agents?
I had a couple of agents, so I already had the team for the most part, but I had the least profitable team in America. So
love your honesty.
Yeah. So I'm at Remax at the point in time. So there's a broker and then a franchise company, and, you know, I'm paying the bills and not paying the bills. And it was funny. It was, you know, I go to the owner and say, you mind if I can wait a couple weeks? I got a closing or whatever coming up. And so, you know, we were just trying to figure it out. We didn't know what was going on or what we were doing. Didn't have any numbers on anything, had some support staff. So it was just a mess. It was just, by the time we paid Remax, paid the agents, paid the support staff, there just wasn't anything left over. So I was just digging a negative hole. But the good news is I like drove a nice car and I wore a nice suit every day. So, like, you know, I looked the part. I mean, does that count? Do they give me credit for that? So you know, that's essentially what was going on.
So before you opened up your company, before you went off on your own and went independent, tell us about the size of your team, number of transactions. What did that look like?
Yeah, it was somewhat a unique situation because once we had landed this REO account, spent 6 months getting this REO account, and I got the REO account, and then they dumped 150 properties on me at once. That's when we moved Rendy up here. I was like, all right, come on, you're gonna have to be here. We got a lot going on, so I need you here. Help me, you know, I'm drowning. And so, you know, so she helped organize again, all that stuff, and get it all going there. And then we hired agents at that point because we had those REOs. So we did the REOs, and then those REOs would then make listings, and those listings would call buyers, and we wanted to separate those out in lanes. So then what we had is the REO agents, and we'd multiply those out. Then we multiplied out the buyers agents that would come in on that. So we grew that to a good amount of agents. And then a lot of those people were like their team members. And once we went and opened our own, then those people peeled out and became like 100% agents at our company. And then we brought a new team. And so again, I did everything wrong. So I went and bought a 6,000 square foot building. So that's hundreds of thousands of dollars went out to buy the building, you know, for 10 agents at that point in time, you know. And so that was pretty stupid. I'm paying all that money for 10 agents. Some are 100% agents. So again, I'm running probably the least profitable team you could ever have. But luckily we had a lot of REOs. But so anyway, before that, we had these REOs. We peeled those out into separate locations. And so we started partnering with agents across the country. And so then we would pass them the listings, and they would do the listings, and then they could take the buyers and do what they wanted. So we peeled that out with the brokerage and then funneled it all back. We did all the accounting. We had all the technology and all the software and all the relationships, and we set all that stuff up. So.
Yeah, got it. And so, your team structure was more of, at the beginning, was just to support an REO division. I mean, you basically created an REO company. So you had plenty of, you already had the account that gave you the lead flow. So you had the lead flow. Now, so the REO market doesn't exist anymore. It stopped a long time ago.
Yeah.
So you made a transition. You got into the business. the market dumped. You had to make a transition to go from distressed. Then all the distress dried up. Now you got to make a damn another pivot again.
I wrote a check to the old brokerage and said, hey, I know I'm in a contract with you, because I set up a really good deal with them. And at that point, I was doing like 80 deals a month. So, I had a really good deal with them. And then it dropped off. And I went, this is costing me too much money to be here. I'll write you a check and I'm going to go open my own just to honor my agreement with them. Because, it was good for me when it was good for me. I didn't want to make it, well, this changed and now I don't want to honor my agreement. So
sure. Yeah.
And we're still friends to this day because of that, and I just chose the relationship over it. But anyway, so we did that, and then I figured out the math of, all right, well, I need this amount of money to run, and if I allocate this money this way, I could run this way, and so we went, and that's when we went and opened up First Class
Real Estate. Now, with the people that you had on your team, did they then stay on your team, or did they become more of an independent agents within the operations of First Class Real Estate?
There was a mix. Some people went one direction, some the other. And, at that point in time, we're like, all right, we had to build all this. We really needed to be adding agents and growing the company. But instead, we had to make everything, all the forms, the contracts, the operations manuals, the trainings, like all that had to be done, bring in the right support staff, set up all the roles. Because now we have to do the accounting, right? Like all the things we didn't have to do at that brokerage, we now were in charge of. So we had to make all these systems and processes that we didn't have to worry about before, and now we had to. And so, there was nobody there to give it to us. So we did, which is essentially what ended up becoming the mindset that we learned in this franchise model. Oh, this is why people don't do this, because you got to now spend more time to make less money. People don't want to do that. Like that. Yeah. That's foolish. They don't mind spending money to get more money faster, but they don't want to spend more time because they still got household bills and all the other things. So I was just running out of money. Then when we got that office, we got multiple offices up and running. We take the money and re-roll it out. Now we get offices open for really skinny. I was spending 140 grand every time I opened a new office. We got that all the way skinny down, and COVID really helped us in that too, because now we can run a virtual office. But we got our office cost opening up quick and down, and then up and profitable fast. So we learned how to do that that dip and that drive to profitability quickly. So
what about lead flow? So if you have all these team members and agents that were used to the lead flow of REO, and then all of a sudden that went dry, did you replace that in a different form of lead flow?
We did. Good question. So what we ended up doing was, because when we had the REOs, a lot of the buyers would come in and buy them. And so we would fix them up and flip them. And then we would also, we would flip them for the government. Like they asked us to do it. We put up money, they reimbursed us. So we would do that. And then what happens, investors were coming in buying our property. So we had relationships with them, as they would buy them and resell them with us, over and over. And then what happens after that Fannie Mae stuff had stopped, then we moved to helping them. So they would then go buy properties. We already knew how to repair properties, what properties were worth, how to do a BPO on them. We knew all the value to those investors. And so we said, okay, well, instead of us just helping mitigate loss for the government, we're now helping these people buy homes, fix them up and resell them. And it was a little different climate, but they had to find them. So they'd be regular resales, they'd be other REO accounts that were out there, all those other things. So we really made a good business in that. And then those people would go run marketing ads to get new leads. So they would bring properties to us that they found, and then, courthouse steps or any of those other auction type things. And
probate or whatever. So you started looking for, the listings that were most similar to what you were doing. It just wasn't coming from the REO bank or the banks and whatnot. That's good. So it sounds like one of the things you did is you maintained good relationship with all your past clients.
Yeah.
Well, so you had that database ready and primed.
Well, what happened is my mindset changed. It's always this one little thought that comes in and changes how you're seeing everything. And so what changed for me, and I don't even remember where it came from or who said it, but they said, you make money every time money trades hands. And I said, yes. Okay, interesting. And you'd think you'd know that. You've done thousands of transactions. You'd know that, right? Like, yeah, you only make it if the deal closes. That's one way of saying it. When you say you only make it when money trades hands, I said, well, who's got the money then that's going to trade hands, right? And so, first-time home buyers trading, $200,000. But an investor is rolling 3 million over and over and over 3 or 4 times in a year. That was a lot more money trading hands with only one relationship. And then I could take one agent and make one relationship and roll the money and then do the same thing over and over, just like I did the REO accounts. And so that's kind of the mindset that changed everything for me with that business.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you know what's interesting, and that I just want to acknowledge is you don't seem, at least you're not showing any evidence that you, when things change, you may freak out, but you seem to make a move. Whether it's a good move or a bad move, you don't seem to stand still when the market makes a shift. And I think that's very important. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's not that I don't stress or, would go through any of the other things that go on, but, I've since reflected backwards. It's kind of funny because you can kind of look back on yourself and your business of things, but, I have a thing where if you spend a day without thinking about what you're doing or what's going on or what's going to change, it even stimulated. There's a line in the movie Moneyball. In the end of it, he says, if you're not breaking down your system and your model, trying to reinvent it, you're a dinosaur and somebody else is working twice as hard to break it down and beat you. And for me, that's just always kind of been the thing. Cause I said, well, either disruption is going to happen to me or I'm going to be disrupted. And that's your choice. That's your choice in life. And if you're staying stagnant, you're just either just going through mundane pieces and you got to get to the end and go, that's all you did. I mean, that was your thing. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You got your, what you wanted out of it, or you were impactful and made a difference in either people's lives or the market or industry. And that fires me up. I mean, I would imagine it would fire anybody up, but having the fortitude to go in and go disrupt your own business. It sounds chaotic. It sounds like self-sabotage, but you got to go in and re-break it down and do it again, or it's going to happen to you. Once you learn that, then all of a sudden you're now disrupting your own business and everybody else is just looking at it like, oh, that's stupid. That I have tons of people, close friends, that say, you're an idiot to me over and over and over again. Every time I would do one of these other things, I said, I can see it. I see it. It's going to happen. Disruption. Here's the disruption right now. You ready?
Yeah.
We're going to lose a ton of agents in this market. We're going to lose them because they can't get deals done. So they're going to write offers. So 10 agents are now competing on one property. Before it was the other side of it that they were trying to get these deals done and there weren't enough buyers to get them done. Now there's not enough sellers. I'm sorry. I don't know if you can hear this on your end.
I can't. Yeah, I can't hear it. I don't know what that is. Sounds like a Skype or I don't know what it is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just hold on 1 second, everybody. We will, he's dropping some good information here. So just trying to get that little background noise. Sounds like a notification on the computer, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So we're going to lose agents because there's not enough sellers. So you got agents writing a lot more contracts, but they're not necessarily winning them. So the number of contracts written to contracts won is per agent is definitely decreasing. And that's going to discourage a lot of agents. And, so what are you as and I want to go into the franchise side of it too and learn more about that. But before we go on to that, so what is your prediction or what do you see over the next year or so, maybe 2 years with the market? Do you see REOs coming back? Do you see the market going down, going up for longer? Where's your mind now as you're thinking, hey, because you're always looking at the next market. So what's the next market look like for you, or what are you thinking it may look like?
I mean, there's a huge market compression going on. I mean, essentially the commission is being compressed over and over and over. And so, I think that it's going to be a race to the bottom. I think everyone's kind of acknowledged that and they understand it, but they're still kind of holding on. I mean, I really try and look at these other businesses and go, they're not breaking down their model. They have too big of ships to break it down. They're going, we're just going to ride this ship into the ground. And ultimately, that's a way better plan than to go disrupt it and mess yourself up, right? And so, and they maybe will last a couple more years, but the disruption is just happening so much faster, I think, than they're even thinking is really going to take place because there's so many pieces coming in and disrupting at the same time. So, so that market compression is going to happen. I think that most brokerages are going to have to end up sharing a lot of the stuff with their agent, whether that's ownership in the company, whether that's ownership in mortgage or title, or paying them a high amount of money to make money on mortgage and title, or something along those lines. And, we still got this blockchain stuff that's kind of looming, like maybe that's going to come in. We can't quite see it yet, but when it does, it feels like it's going to be really rapid and fast. You got the regulatory side of the mortgage side. So you've got kind of some buoys that are holding you in lane to what's what. And there's also they don't know any better, right? There's a bunch of people out there that are so busy, like I was, just doing and doing and doing and doing and doing. They're not even looking for another answer. They're not even looking. They've got blinders on of this is so great and yada, yada, yada. Or they're in this, all right, I just got to get the next deal and I've got to get it. They don't know what's going on. And that's to the benefit of those that go, yep, just stay doing what you're doing. Let's just keep them happy, almost like keep them medicated to keep them moving to this other thing. And then boom, they're going to get disrupted because they're just staying on that pattern. So,
yeah. Okay. So we're almost to entrepreneur. We're now here. You started off as an agent, man, lots of pivots here, team builder, pivot again, business owner. Obviously you're going to have to continue. We always have to pivot. We're business owners. That's just the story of our life. But I have not seen many agents, only a few, that have taken it all the way to, I feel like my systems are good enough to franchise. So what are you franchising, and who's the audience? What are you delivering to those that are coming to franchise with you?
Yeah. So I'm trying to tip the game upside down a little bit. So I got kind of both ways to look at this, but ultimately right now the brokerage owners own the business, and then there's kind of agents underneath that, and the agents have their transactions. That's kind of the flow. And then they've set up these either profit shares or rev share type programs where then their goal is to bring these other people in. And so which is fine. That's good. It's good for a lot of people. And what I want to do is disrupt it by making it so easy that agents can run a business. So it just tips it upside down because now they're the owner. Now they run this thing where they have all the costs and the operations, very similar to what I said when I peeled out, because if they can do sales, the amount they're paying into the brokerage is probably more than they could do if they did it on their own. So we built this growth plan all the way from what we call a partner agent. Agent comes in, needs to learn contracts and needs leads, to 100% agent. That 100% agent can now do all the business, and they just pay a small fee to the brokerage owner, and that's all they want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Then they go to this next level where they want to build a team, so now they can add them on, but they'll have what would be their partners, right? We call them entrepreneurs. They'd be entree partners. So then they would run a team that way, and they can do that. And so everybody kind of can stop anywhere they want. And when that team gets big enough, it peels out and it opens its own office because it doesn't make sense to pay the brokerage anymore. They would open their own, and we're the whole company is okay with that, right? So they know that's part of the game. We want to move them all the way through, and they'll bring new partners in, and then that whole cycle, it keeps essentially compounding. And so now, because that partner that turned entrepreneur, now entrepreneur hires other partners, that's great for the brokerage owner, right? So now they're adding them, they're training them, they're giving them leads, and now it's a small knit cell of production that's working, right? Because none of the models work if there's no sales. You can go anywhere you want, do whatever you want. There's no sales, nobody wins because nobody makes money unless money trades hands, right? So anyway, so all of that is to lead to the other. But we can have agents. We take people that are mom and pop companies. We take someone that have 7 agents. They now have 50, right? They've been here less than a year, but they couldn't break through. We've taken it where there were people that were just individual agents. They've opened up offices and they got 100 agents now. So like it's crazy.
Are you coaching them? Is a part of the services that you're providing? Like what would a few services be that you might be providing these people?
Sure. Yeah. And so we're idiots. Because again, I did that thing where I lost a bunch of money up front. I told you everybody thought I was an idiot because I was losing money and I never listened to the coach. So I should have. I could have probably still done the same. But anyway, we provide more value than we charge for. Like it's kind of like our mantra. It's like the ideal of an Amazon is they disrupt it by giving more and squeezing out JCPenney's. You're not going to wait a week and pay a service fee to delivery when you can have it in 24 hours, with no cost, right? So that disruption is what we want to do in this industry. So with that, we're making it where we think every brokerage should provide a CRM. So we provide KV core, so that KV core is included, and it's included. The franchisee would cover that cost and then provide it on to the agent. Otherwise, the agents are on a split, plus then paying for their own outside CRMs. Then the franchise companies are setting up franchises and then make them get a transaction management system. So now they're paying franchise fees plus transaction management, but now that's cohesive. They're all connected together. Then there's reporting. People don't know the numbers. They don't have any data. They don't have any way to do it. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build out our technology that allows them to see their mortgage, their title, their agent production, their ROI on lead sources. All of that's built in and included with this and the services that are there. Then we have a insane culture, meaning I've lost control of the company now. All the other franchisees are teaching others and all of that. We did a level up mastermind thing in Florida just like last weekend, wasn't it? Yeah, like last weekend. So we did it. The company paid, brought them in. We merged it together with another group, and then we paid for it. So it was $25,000. We paid, brought them all in to train them all and do all that. Didn't charge anybody anything. It was all free to them, right? And so we just keep adding more and more value for our agents. We do top producer events and presidents clubs. We roll that package out to each of the offices. We have monthly meetings where it's like I'll get on there and train the agents on agent stuff. We have other group trainings so people can join in on that. There's it's funny, this is a simple one, but I only say this because people will be able to steal these little ideas. But we have a messenger group, so all the franchisees and managers are in that. They trade off, well, who are you getting this lead from? And it's just a constant thread of communication going on and on and on. You basically could dive in and peel off information at any point in time, but it only happens when the leadership style says, here, it's free. Here's more, here's more, here's more. Then the next person in that culture says, well, it was freely given to me. I mean, here, they can't wait to tell you what was shared with them because they want to help you like they were helped because it's a life-changing type thing.
Yeah, a lot of collaboration. Yeah. Tons of collaboration behind the scenes, which is where you're touching on the culture.
Yeah.
So how many franchises, how many franchises do you have out there?
I think there's like 53 or something right now. I know we were at 50 something. I signed 2 more today. So I think that puts us at like 53.
And that could be anywhere. It could be a single agent could be doing a franchise with you, as well as a team, or somebody could actually go in and be a company already and sign on, right?
We've got all of those different things, and some of them are just kind of like popping open. States took forever to get open. It's a lot of issues that a lot of franchise companies ran into. I ran it on Entrepreneur Magazine. I looked at us versus one of those other top selling one, and I was surprised. We sold more franchises than they did last year. Like, I mean, they've been doing this for 20 some years. So I was surprised that we were able to adapt and grow in that model. But yeah, there's individual agents. There are agents that started at a franchise and then went and opened their own. It just matters what level you want to be at, And like you said, it's usually a confidence thing. But we're the type that we have this group of leaders and we build this culture of, if you hang around us long enough, we're going to convince you can run through a wall. I mean, you're going to realize how powerful you are, because you'll look around the room and go, well, if this idiot can do it, then I can do it, right? And then they're usually looking at me. But the ideal is that you're stronger than you think you are. You're more capable than you think you are. But they have all these limiting beliefs, and we talk about it all the time. What's that limiting belief? You don't even identify it. You just operate in it. But once you identify it, we'll name. There will be a question. I know I'm all over the place a little bit, but there's a question that says, what's 3 things that'll stop you from accomplishing your goal? We talk about vision all the time. Someone's got to create a vision. We'll say, well, what's 3 things that are going to stop you? And they'll name these 3 things that are going to stop them, right? And you say, well, now it can't stop you anymore, because now you know what's going to stop you. And now you can go in and make sure that doesn't. Well, I won't, I don't have enough hours in the day, or whatever it is. Okay, so how can we create time? How do we do time assets versus time liabilities and reverse engineer it, right? So all of those things. And then it just trickles all the way down, where that it just levels the whole boat rises at the same time. All the boats rise with the tide.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So do you think, last question, and then I'll ask you how people can get in touch with you. Do you think agents, for those, not every agent will be able to do this, but do you think agents should be focusing on relationships again with REO departments and whatnot? Do you think that that's going to come up again? Are you sensing that?
there's been a lot of murmurs of this stuff that's going on. And you'd think because I've done REO, I'd be like, yeah. It'd almost be a preconceived idea. And I go, unfortunately, my answer is no. And there's a couple reasons why not. And so there's a shortage of inventory. There's low interest rates. There's the influx of buyers. So until we see the buyer side cool off, there's not really any way that you're going to have these foreclosures. They're saying, well, there's this inventory of this other. Once it comes in, that's just going to be fuel for the fire. But that fuel for the fire is then going to drive it up. I picture this like the 1920s, that we're in the roaring 20s, but we're in the beginning. They're infusing money into the economy. I mean, everyone's got cash almost. It seems like everyone came out, not everyone, but a lot of people on the business side of things came out with money on top of things because they got PPP money and, all these other things. That all that money's kind of spread out, and then everyone got real conservative. So what's it called? The velocity of money slowed, right? And so the velocity and the sizes of purchases slowed, which put money in what's called the M1, M2. So now there's more money in the bank than there's ever been. There's less debt than there's ever been, right? So everybody kind of learned their lesson. And then you've got this inflationary type stuff that's going on, which is somewhat confusing to me because they use inflation as a bad thing, but I'm going, well, that means house prices are going to go up. That means, of course, everything's going to go up with that, but it means it's going to drive it up. Well, if that drives up, then that drives, I think there's 58 other things, other industries that are indicated or, what is it called? They're impacted by a house sale. And so all of these other businesses, so all of that just infuses all the way through. And then that money then gets spent and it just kind of keeps on going. So anyway, I feel like that passing through is really going to help a lot of people, and we'll see a lot less. I know there's going to be foreclosures, but there's always been, there's always been, but I don't think it's going to be the influx. I think the opposite side of it is figuring out how you can build those relationships to get those sellers, to get those homes, to get those corporate accounts when they're moving from side to side, getting referral-based agents across, because we call ours a network. On our website is all of our map of our locations because we want those things passed back and forth because that network is really going to be key. I mean, you see it all the time. Does anybody know an agent here? Does anybody know an agent there? Believe it or not, that's still a struggle for people to find an agent that they know everywhere. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do is build a network where we know who's there. There's a franchise owner, there's an agent, and that way everybody's kind of oversaw and managed, and that way you can pass out through the clients that way. So
man, you sure do offer a lot of information. So in a very short period of time. So what's the best way for somebody, if somebody wants to reach out, maybe they want to pick your brain, maybe they want to learn more about franchising or your franchise. What's the best way for them to reach you?
So on our website, firstclassrealestate.com, it has all these different options. So as an agent, they can join on. As a franchise owner, they can join on. They can find out about our 5% for Life Tech program, why we're against caps. I mean, we're just anti. Caps are usually more than our franchise fee, so that just drives us nuts. But yeah, that website, any of those things, I'm really involved. Like I'm the type that when you look at my phone, I don't have a text message I don't respond to. My emails, when I go to bed at night, there's 2 of them, but it's only because I'm just waiting their to-do list. But I get all of my emails responded. And then when a franchise lead or an agent lead or any of that stuff comes in, I see it. I mean, I don't usually manage it, but I see what's going on, and I'm pretty easy to access, sometimes too accessible, and it just depends on the lane of whatever it is. Every now and then we'll be able to jump on. We do a discovery day a couple times a month, and so people can sign up for that, and then they can find out all about the franchise that way. I do that personally as well, so I get to meet people and talk to them that way, and and then there's scheduled calls. We schedule call people. I just got a problem. A lot of times we feel like our solution is the solution to a significant amount of issues, whatever those are, whether that's recruiting or value or finances. And so we try and help with that. And a lot of times it leads to that, but every now and then we'll get on the call. Someone just says, hey, I just want to tell you about this, that, and the other. And we'll say, okay, well, great. We'll try this, that, and the other. And they almost don't like it. I got yelled at the other day. A guy said, you didn't try and recruit us. Well, you didn't even try and recruit me to the thing. And I said, well, we don't recruit anybody. We may attract you if the model makes sense, but that's not our game. We're not trying to do that. We have what we have, and if it's interesting to you, great. If it's not, then we understand, and we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. So that's our business plan.
Well, man, thank you again. I appreciate you. I know this is the second time that you've shared your time with us at the Level Up podcast.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I wish you the continued success. I'm waiting to see what's next. Obviously you keep progressing and keep leveling up, so good luck to you and thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.